Recently, viewers saw American Idol's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night. One of the judges really got into the act throughout the program. Some people, meanwhile, believe the program fell short of its topic. On social media, fans have even started posting who they believe should be held accountable. Theme evenings are nothing new to American Idol. Fans have viewed programs devoted to well-known performers, Disney Night, and holiday-themed nights. Fans just watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night for season 23. Additionally, this was the show that reduced the season's top 14 to the top 12. The 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame honorees were even announced during the live event, according to Parade. Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, Cyndi Lauper, Outkast, Soundgarden, and the White Stripes were among them. James Taylor, a singer-songwriter, also made an appearance as a guest coach. In 2000, Taylor received his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In particular, Judge Carrie Underwood embraced the subject. A pre-recorded performance of her singing Hearts, Alone, a song she had previously performed as a competitor on the competition, kicked off the broadcast. Then she showed up looking like Guns N' Roses' Axl Rose. Underwood actually took the rock motif quite seriously, according to admirers. They said that she seemed dissatisfied with the night's music choices, believing they didn't align with the theme. Some supporters have also publicly expressed their approval on social media. Rock and Roll Night didn't bring it at all, one fan remarked. Che's song selection has now been performed twice, yet Thunderstorm still doesn't adhere to the themes, engage the band, or get beyond of his comfort zone. These judges treat him too lightly. A few viewers concurred that the program had a strange vibe. They frequently mentioned other competitors, though, that they weren't too impressed with. However, others also mentioned performers they felt were the highlight of the performance. Some also defended the competitors, pointing out that the topic was not the genre but rather the songs of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame honorees. Among the remarks were, "Matty truly destroyed that Kelly Clarkson song. She consistently lets me down, and I'm not sure how she manages to survive. I was mostly bored with it. Though I was glad Carrie Underwood called out some poor notes, I thought Jamal's music selection was the finest. How could John have made an Elvis song so uninteresting? John has a lovely voice, don't get me wrong, but it was rather uninteresting. I believe that many of you misinterpreted the topic. It was the night of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In other words, you may sing any song by any inductee. It wasn't need to be a rock and roll tune. However, I actually simply came here to express my frustration with Matty. On Rock and Roll Night, only Carrie received the memo." Overview. Few programs have had as much impact and controversy in the world of music competitions as American Idol. Since its premiere in 2002, the program has shaped a generation's musical preferences and created many careers. However, occasionally a unique themed night ignites passionate discussion among industry insiders, fans, and reviewers. Rock and roll, which many people believe embodies the rebellious spirit and unadulterated authenticity of music, was recently the focus of an entire evening on American Idol. But what started out as an homage soon took a negative turn. The evening sparked a storm of criticism instead of bringing fans together in appreciation. Viewers were incensed at the way the genre was handled and, more particularly, at the people they felt ruined Rock and Roll Night. As followers expressed the dissatisfaction and dismay, social media was ablaze with hashtags, memes, and vehement comments. This essay analyzes the criticism, looks at the causes of the outcry, and considers what this dispute tells us about rock and roll's continued cultural relevance in the contemporary period. The scene, a rock and roll celebration night. Themed evenings have long been a speciality of American Idol, which has covered a variety of genres, including pop, soul, country and more. The concept of a rock and roll-focused night is not new. Past seasons have honored icons such as Queen, the Rolling Stones, and Led Zeppelin. However, 2023's Rock and Roll Night was marketed as a unique occasion that promised a nostalgic trip back to the genre's explosive, rebellious beginnings. The candidates will play classic songs by artists like Chuck Berry, Jimi Hendrix, Joan Jett, Nirvana, and others, according to the producers. The intention was to honor the pioneers who influenced current music while showcasing variety. Awaiting the candidates' interpretations of these classics, fans anxiously awaited the performances. Social media was used extensively to promote the event, with many users highlighting their hopes for genuineness and excitement. The turn of the performances was disappointing. However, many spectators felt deceived and let down by what happened on stage. Many performances seemed dull, misdirected, or unduly sterile rather than stirring, emotional renderings. While some competitors seemed to purposefully downplay the gritty elements that characterize rock and roll, others were unsure of their content. A number of performances were specifically criticized: the excessively smooth cover. One competitor tried a Jimi Hendrix classic, but their rendition was so controlled and fluid that it lost all of its rebellious edge. Supporters believed that the chance to convey the unadulterated passion of Hendrix's original was lost. Unsuitable vocals. Another performer picked a Nirvana song, but their pop vocals seemed out of step with the grunge vibe. Supporters claimed that the performance lacked sincerity and reverence for the essence of the genre. Misinterpretation of classics. Discussions concerning artistic freedom versus betrayal of the original work were sparked by participants who made changes to lyrics or musical arrangements that fans considered offensive. Technical issues and a lack of enthusiasm. A few acts had subpar sound or an uninspiring stage presence, which further slowed down the evening's pace. Indignation of the fans, who damned Rock and Roll Night. Social media exploded shortly after the concerts aired. Trending hashtags on many platforms included Adolfail, What Did You Do to Rock, and Rock and Roll Disaster. The program, the competitors, and even the judges were criticized by fans for their contempt of a genre that is essential to American music culture. The producers of American Idol were blamed by many fans for either choosing competitors who weren't suitable for rock performances or pressuring them to fit in with popular pop norms. Others chastised the judges for not highlighting the significance of authenticity or for neglecting to call out performances that fell short. Among the most frequent critiques were lack of respect for the genre. According to fans, a lot of performances lacked the rebellious spirit of rock and instead seemed like pop or generic covers. Inauthentic interpretations. Audiences thought that certain competitors' performances lacked the gritty attitude and grit that characterize rock and roll, and were thus too safe. Overproduction and sanitization. The impression that the program gave more weight to polished, radio-friendly versions than to unpolished, passionate performances. Miscasting and bad song selections. According to critics, certain competitors weren't fit for rock and ought to have been paired with songs or genres that were more appropriate. The cultural importance of rock and roll. The reasons behind the fans' fury. Rock and roll is a cultural movement that questioned authority, pushed back against social standards, and promoted individualism. It is more than just a music. It represents defiance, genuineness, and an unfiltered emotional release for a lot of followers. It seemed like a betrayal when American Idol, a popular, commercial platform, seemed to minimize or misrepresent these aspects. Fans felt that the performance had sacrificed the essence of rock and roll in order to appeal to a wider audience, and many voiced sentiments of loss, dissatisfaction, and even rage. Numerous people used social media to share their personal ties to the genre, including how they found their identity through rock music, went to iconic performances, and were motivated by the defiance of the genre. The dispute also demonstrated the pervasiveness of these cultural beliefs. The notion that a well-known TV program might ruin or misrepresent rock and roll was intolerable to fans. Industry and artist responses. Reactions were not always negative. Some former rock musicians and industry experts weighed in, highlighting the difficulties of interpreting genre on a broadcast talent competition and supporting the performances. Respect the spirit of rock and roll, its soul, its rebellion, said legendary guitarist Carlos Santana in a Twitter post. Although not all renditions do so, that is a necessary aspect of the experience. A few past American Idol finalists, meanwhile, talked about their own experiences with genre nights and acknowledged the challenge of striking a balance between entertainment and honesty. Critics countered that the show's treatment of rock and roll frequently reduced it to a shallow spectacle, indicating a misinterpretation or reduction of the genre's depth. The more general discussion: what does this indicate about contemporary music and respect for culture? This dispute raises more significant issues about the development of genres and the representation of music in the media. Once revolutionary, rock and roll is now a fundamental, although occasionally underappreciated, aspect of musical history. Many supporters are concerned that its fundamental principles, rebellion, genuineness, and unadulterated passion, are being compromised or distorted. The criticism points to a demand for more knowledge and respect in the way certain genres are portrayed on well-known platforms. It calls into question whether programs like American Idol have an obligation to inform viewers, respect the music's history, and encourage authentic artistic expression. It also represents a larger cultural conflict, the attempt to strike a balance between creative integrity and economic appeal. Fans worry that the core of what makes rock and roll unique is being lost in the name of entertainment and ratings. The fallout, insights and progress. The creators of American Idol released remarks after the outcry, expressing gratitude for the fervor of the fans and pledging to consider the criticism. Aiming to educate both candidates and viewers, several programs included behind-the-scenes portions that explored the history of rock and roll. Online, fans are still debating what makes a proper homage and how to best honor the genre's heritage in future themed evenings. Many demand candidates who truly relate to the content, more varied song selections, and more genuine performances. The significance of maintaining the integrity of musical genres on popular platforms is frequently emphasized by music reviewers and industry professionals. They support more awareness of rock and roll's cultural relevance, more nuanced representations, and more education. In conclusion, music genres have a significant influence on cultural identity and individual expression, as seen by the outburst of rage over American Idol's Rock and Roll Night. Fans react strongly when they believe that a beloved genre is being mistreated or denigrated. They may criticize it or demand more respect. Even if the controversy may have overshadowed the performances, it does convey a crucial reality: rock and roll is still a strong, rebellious force in society and music. Fans hope that future tributes will uphold the virtues that its history demands: respect, sincerity, and understanding. It is hoped that as the performance progresses, there will be a renewed dedication to preserving the essence of rock and roll, encouraging younger generations to see its potential, and making sure that its legacy endures in the hearts of fans everywhere.